What did I tell you last? I told you a little bit about the man.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there. It was nothing like I expected, and so much more than I would have ever asked for. It helped me actually understand that master masculine provision and why it can never be what I think I'm desiring, what I think I'm asking for, what I think I need, because I don't know. I could never know. That's the blindness.
Yeah.
So I go into it thinking that I'm releasing all these particular expectations only to find a whole new set of expectations to release in the actual experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I go into it like, oh, okay, it's about, releasing the sex thing and about having the sex, the focus on sex. But that was just the entry point. And so the first few days, it was just really funny because we were so used to each other being a certain way with each other, 7 months ago. And I just am not that way anymore.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to do with it. But then I realized on like day 3 or 4, something in me clicked where I realized how much I have the power in the whole thing. I was like, I can literally just play with this. So I just started poking at him and just being really light about it, but calling him out and just making it fun for me.
Yeah.
And then he completely different dynamic.
How?
He stopped being so fucking serious. He stopped being so fucking serious. For the most part.
Right. And how did that affect the experience?
Everything. The whole thing changed. It became about the actual experience. That's how the experience changed. It was actually about the experience. And by the time it was his last day here, I didn't even want him to leave. I was like, oh, yeah, that would have been fun if we actually did the full 10 days we talked about at first.
Yeah.
And I think the way it challenged me the most was all the ideas about, it's like, how in the beginning of this I was so serious about killing the swamp.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that still came up. It was like, oh, he doesn't meet this and this and this that I expected the man that would match, or not match, that would unmatch my own master to come in, to be like, to look like, to act like, because he doesn't. He's not my unmatched. He's still not. And it was about submitting to the actual experience and having it be what it is without needing him to be more, without any of that, without any of the ideas, because I had so much attachment about what it meant about me that he was coming back around into my life, and he hadn't really changed, and he hasn't. He's not that master. He's not my unmatched. And it's okay. I can still have an experience.
Right. So you were making it about him at that time.
In the beginning? Yeah, I still saw. There was still. And the way I knew is because I went into that swampy place where it's like, oh, what if I'm saying yes to something that's going to drop the caliber of my masculine? That's going to this. All the things. That's how I saw it. Because that was still present.
Yeah. I was talking about this with the master frame yesterday. That when you activate your high feminine, every single experience that comes from the high masculine. there is no way that it can come from the wimpy fucker anymore.
Okay. That is literally the piece I needed. That's all I needed today. Like, that is, I knew this was going to come up because I had that knowing. Because actually yesterday he invited me on a road trip. So we're going to do this crazy road trip together. I'm going to drive down. He lives in Texas, so it's like almost a 30-hour drive by myself, which just that is going to challenge me so much in every single way.
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that. And I've been asking for something so different. And then we're going to drive back the other way, back up here towards me. And it was a yes. There was a big turn on there. And then I fell into the swamp about it because I was like, oh, is saying yes to him like blocking my actual person? Is it this? Is it that? It's none of that. It is a fucking experience that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how he is. That's the thing.
It's not about him.
No. 4 months ago, it might have actually mattered how he was being because I wasn't in the formidable. I wasn't in my high feminine either. So had that experience come around then, I would have fallen right back into the swamp with it. That's why it's different now.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't matter how the other person is, even though I know what the tone of the relationship I want feels like. I know it. But saying yes to something else doesn't negate that.
No.
At all.
And also, well, 2 things. This is something that I was also talking about with the master framers yesterday.
Of course.
It's about the frame. It's about the experience. It's not about the person that's in the frame with you. It's not about anything that comes into the frame. It's the frame itself. That is the turn on. That is where the unimaginable experience happens when you submit to the frame. Another thing is that you need to also drop the expectations around what your unmatch looks like.
Yeah, that's what came up this week with him even. Because by the end of it, we had so much fun together. And it opened me up in such a different way. And he hadn't changed. Not really.
Yeah. And also, I mean, with my husband, for so long, he was not my unmatch. Not energetically, not where he actually was energetically. But I also had the knowing that his potential was definitely my unmatch. And the relationship that comes, it's not going to be perfect. He's not going to be the unmatch. He's going to be the unmatch in a way that will challenge your high feminine and that will challenge you in every way to stay in your high feminine, no matter what. He's going to bring up, or he's going to come up into your life with all of the matter that is the exact thing that you need. He's not going to be...
That is the masculine vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I learned this week is that is the masculine provision. That's his integrity. That's him giving me the exact experience I need for whatever matter is present to be weeded out. It's not the experience that sounds good, that looks good, that I think I need. That's the swampy entitlement and arrogance. And I was thinking about those 2 things this week. I wrote about it. It's the entitlement and the arrogance. Those are literally the 2 cock blocks to the highest quality of masculine provision.
Yeah.
And going through that experience with this man, I actually submitted to why. And I understood why.
Yeah. And that is the high masculine provision. That is the unmatch. Every single thing that comes into your experience from the high masculine is an unmatch to you at that time. Because it's the exact thing that you need in order for your high feminine to be in her genius, to play and to experience the unimaginable, to realize the things that you need to realize, to get the exact ideas that you need for your business or your relationships or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They all come from the experience. So the experience itself is the unmatch.
Mm-hmm.
The frame is the unmatch.
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday with the road trip, because the frame, it was yes. But then I saw how the swampy starts going into the details. It's like, oh, but this, but I don't like this. How can I rearrange this? And that's when the confusion starts. Oh, is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a this? It's no, it's what it is. The moment it comes up, it's a yes, you go, that's it. So I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
What was I going to say with him? There was something else. There was just so many little nuanced things that gave me everything I needed. And it's amazing how it's like the moment you think all the expectations are gone, all the matter is gone, it's like, oh, there you go. It's like something completely left field, and it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually fun now.
Yeah. And that's when it all changes, when it becomes fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the tone changes
Mm-hmm.
in your life. There's a huge difference between going into an experience to get it done with from a serious place,
Mm-hmm.
versus actually playing in the experience and playing with the tone of the experience. And that's where the tone comes from.
Can you say more on, it was one of the first things you said about once you're in your high feminine, everything is from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's about trusting your high feminine. It's about trusting and knowing that when you're in your high feminine, the wimpy masculine cannot get in, period. And
That makes sense.
And he wouldn't dare come in. When you're in your high feminine, you repel the wimpy masculine. He's not gonna be. He's not gonna approach you. He's fucking scared. he can't get in.
That makes perfect sense. So this whole week, I'm like, there's some kind of threshold test that I'm in right now, and I'm not fully seeing it. And I was feeling the knowing of that everything that comes in is from him. But where I was struggling with was, I was like, am I just starting to like be sloppy because I feel like I can say yes to more now?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was questioning it. And there was something specific. There was one specific thing. So I had one of those passing thoughts the other day because I have all my orders done, like my shop is done.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a passing thought because I was in what's left of my sewing studio making myself something. And I was like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to just do like one order. It was just passing thought. And literally the next day, somebody emails me on my website, somebody that like had just somehow found my shop, even though it's closed. And they're like, oh my God, I want this massive order. And it's, I don't know, it's like a $1,500 order. And I haven't actually replied yet. I had to sit with it because I was like, is this a test of saying no to the wimpy fucker again, or is it this?
It's an experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's never actually about the thing that's happening in the physical. It's not about the shop. It's not about the order. It's not about that other business. It's about him wanting you to go and play with it from a very different energy.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it shows how it can be literally the same thing over here, same thing over here. It's completely different.
The action, the thing, the physical thing can be the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
Usually is.
Yeah.
There's nothing that, what I've come to realize is there's nothing that actually changes in a major way in the physical in terms of who you're with, who you're attracted to, what business you're in, what you want to do. It's simply the energy changes, and that changes everything in the business without changing it, or the relationship without changing it.
That's where I'm at with everything.
Mm.
And that's what he helped me see too this week, is it's not this extravagant, and it can be sometimes, but it's how I am in the experience, whatever the experience is.
Yeah.
And I still see how up until this point I've been like waiting for something like drastic to happen as evidence that it's working, as evidence that I'm in the formidable, as evidence that I've been doing what I like, the work that I'm supposed to be doing, and that I've been doing. And it's none of that. I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I need to do, period. There's no more doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no more questioning. There's no more, what am I going to teach? How am I going to work with people? How am I this? It just is.
Mm. It's funny how literally everything I said in the master frame call yesterday is coming up with you right now.
That's hilarious.
I was talking about how the turn on is not something that you need to feel towards every single thing in your life. How it's actually the part of us, even when we're in the swamp, as women especially, that simply moves from interest to interest very fast. I was always like this. I wanted to, in one moment I wanted to dance, in another I wanted to do martial arts, then the turn on shifted into horse riding, and it, you just change what you want to do and what the turn on is really fast. And people think that I was always told that I was irresponsible, that I was inconsistent because of it.
Lively.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that is the turn on. That's how it operates.
Yep.
Even with this, the turn on shifted away from the clothing business. Mm-hmm. And then you followed the turn on into something else. And then when the matter is removed, which it is now, he's going to bring it back from a clean place.
Right. And that's why this man came back too. It's so fun.
Exactly. And the reason is that now it's no longer a container. When you're in the swampy feminine wimpy fucker, it's a container. So everything you're trying to do at the same time has to be held by your feminine. And it's exhausting. And this is the reason why, if you shift your focus from your business to, let's say, your home life, your business will crumble. It will be felt in the results, in the following, in everything that happens in there, because your feminine can't hold everything at the same time. She's not meant to.
Yeah.
But when it's coming from the frame, you can have any number of things happening in the physical, and you can move your focus from your business to another area, and it will keep going by itself because it's framed by the high masculine.
Yeah. So this is the shift for me this week. It's in these energetics, everything is backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, and I always know when I'm up leveling because I feel swampy again, but that's not actually it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, am I being too loose? Am I not saying no enough? Am I starting to get sloppy? I feel something, but that's not it. It's
no, the quality of the turn on is shifting.
Yeah, it's shifted, and I don't have to say no as much. as I did in the beginning, because in the beginning, that no was a sword. It was like, just get it all the fuck out of here. Send it back to the kitchen. I don't want any of this. But I don't have stuff like that in my life anymore. Not really.
Yeah.
Nothing like substantial. Like little tweaks will come up, but there's not all this matter that I'm holding constantly.
Yeah. And now the no is it's play.
Mm-hmm.
When it does come up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more like, it's not that you have to say no. It's not that you need to say no. It's not that you should say no. It would be fun to say no to this, and see what happens.
Yes. I had that yesterday with the road trip, because at first I said yes. The original plan was I was going to drive down there. We were going to do camping around him because there's a bunch of stuff, and then I would drive back alone. And I had already said yes to that. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do a 30-hour drive both ways. And then he presents a completely different thing, which is an even bigger turn on, that I would drive down there, and then together we would drive the complete opposite way, going up the coast back to me. I was like, oh. And I had to let go of, because the thought was, I was like, oh, if I say no to this, we're just not going to see each other. There's the stakes. We're not going to blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, it does not fucking matter. I don't want to do this anymore, even though I said yes 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then I get presented something even more fun.
Yeah.
That's
what happens when every single moment becomes an experience of its own.
Mm-hmm.
You're not attached to what happened 10 minutes ago. Time becomes irrelevant. It's not a timeline anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yep. Noah, I love you. Come on. Are you taking my dog?
I'm just saying hi. I'll put it back. Give me a sec.
Yeah, it's just not serious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
None of it.
Exactly.
There you go.
And it's also with the high masculine, when everything, every single experience, every single opportunity, every single moment is presented to you from your high masculine and by your high masculine. The only reason, and this is why so many people get stuck, they get to the saying no part and they get to activating their high feminine. And then they don't trust. It becomes about the stakes around and it being serious, this whole thing, these whole energetics being serious. So they start doubting whether or not it's coming from the high masculine. And they miss the experiences that he presents.
I was thinking about this morning while I was driving, and I thought about like the first, 4 clients I had, just like single sessions. I was like, I thought I was in the experience, but I was so obsessed with trying to retain the client, getting the client, like this is so new and exciting and all the things. In hindsight, now, if I was in the exact same situation, I would know exactly how to retain every single one of those people, because I would be in the experience fully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But when you're not, you're trying to be logical about it. You're trying to, and you're questioning the command that is given to you. This happened to me a lot at the beginning. I would get something to say to them. Clear head, say this. And then it would be completely the opposite of what I was going to say from the logical perspective. It would be something really repelling or something very revealing or something just totally not making any sense. And I would not say it. And I'd say the other thing and they'd go away. He always gives you the exact thing. And it's not.
I've had that so much.
And it's not about what you say. It's not about the words.
It's about taking the hit in the moment.
Yeah, because it's about the tone.
I've had that not just in business, but in my whole life. so many times it's like, say this, the one right thing. And when I say it and don't question it, they like, people will start crying. People will just, how did you know? How did you this? It's always for a reason.
It is about the tone because it comes from a knowing. The tone of submission equals the tone of knowing. And that tone of knowing is what hits them right into the very spot that needs to be hit.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing short of that is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tone of submission.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with posts. Same thing with every single thing that comes out of your mouth or your keyboard or whatever it is.
I had a little one yesterday where this man, I can't remember what he said. He commented something. It was a post about tension. The integrity of tension, something like that. No idea what I said. But he said something, and it was when they try to agree and relate and act as if they know what you're saying, but they have no idea, but they think they do, and they're trying to connect to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that came through for me, it was like, say this, and it was basically calling him out, like, your comments.
I read the exchange, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I had it.
Then he ended it with, "Now I'm listening," right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just little things like that where you just do it.
Exactly.
There's that half second of hesitation where I'm like, you do it. You just do it.
Mm-hmm. And that hesitation is coming from, at least for me, if I have that hesitation of what to say, what to post, it's always coming from a place of, is this what my high feminine would say? And it makes no sense. But there's always, if that comes up for me, there's this little voice in me that says, is this what she would say? Like, would a high feminine say this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that matters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll have that where I'm like, am I really in my high? Is this? It's like, you just fucking say it.
Yeah. And that comes back to it's not about the words. It's not about the physical. It's not about what it looks like. It's about the time.
If I had waited even 2 minutes to make that comment, or if I had changed the words in any way other than how it wanted to come out, totally different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then like 2 other people jumped on the same comment and they basically said the same thing. Like, I'm listening. That was just the energy. It was like, oh, now I'm listening.
Yeah.
And that's actually, even though I haven't had anyone new come in the last few weeks, I've noticed the biggest shift in how, like, what I write is actually received in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, there's this morning, actually, there's this one man, and he's in that whole world, and he teaches like conscious relating or something. And I've been watching him for a little while, and I'll go in and I'll disrupt here and there. And it just, with him watching, from like the 3 things I've ever said to him, the first time he was like, basically fuck off. But then the second time he was like, when their swamp feels it, but their high masculine and feminine feel it too. And they're like, consciously I want to, throw you away, but there's something there. And then yesterday he actually came on that same post and he actually asked me a question, and it wasn't about what he said or the fact that he asked a question. It was how his tone changed towards me. him recognizing the knowing.
Yeah.
Whereas the first interaction we had, completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is when it comes to business and when it comes to results and pulling things into the physical from nothing. And what I realized today, I'm going to write a post about this or go live or something, but the high feminine, the high masculine don't pull energy into matter. They pull nothing into matter. The swampy feminine, the wimpy masculine, they pull energy into matter because the energy is the thing that moves. Mm-hmm. But in your high feminine, your high masculine, your energy doesn't move and it doesn't get moved around. It's intact. Mm-hmm. So it's not pulling energy into matter. It's pulling nothing into matter. Mm-hmm. But this is how you actually collapse time, is you follow every single hit. And there's always going to be a hit after the experience has ended or it's complete. There's going to be the next hit. And then you submit again. And you say whatever comes to mind, or you go and you message them, or whatever it is that the next hit is. You submit to it. Next step, you submit to it. That is how you collapse time. That is how you go from them not knowing you to them paying you in an instant. And the only reason why it's not going all the way through is at some point you stop listening. And you stop submitting to the steps. Mm-hmm. That is the only reason why it's not coming from nothing into matter. Or you get expectations around where or how the next step is going to come from. Mm-hmm. I had this happen yesterday. It had nothing to do with where I thought it would come from. And I could feel and I could see how it just stopped emerging. Because the expectations led me to not see the thing that was going on over here when I expected it to be here. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with the business or the client. And you can restore it. It's not about doing it in the moment. It doesn't matter if you go into the swamp or if you don't do it right away. Mm-hmm. You can restore the knowing. That step is not going to go away.
In regards to that person, I'm actually going to message him. That is with him the next thing. And I see how the last month, it's this expectation that people should just come to me all of a sudden. And wondering why they're not.
Yeah. Every time your imagination gets activated, it stops.
Fucks everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I had, this was a couple weeks ago, but there's, especially when you hit a shitstorm or most likely create a shitstorm somewhere, mm-hmm. It is a gold mine of cash in the most unimaginable ways when you keep playing with it. I had people come in from that post that the Zach whatever guy did.
Yeah.
I had a woman come in to my field. And she actually messaged me saying that she was ready to trump everything. that I was saying that she was coming in ready for a fight to tell me how wrong I am. And then she stumbled upon the masterclass that I posted in my page for free and messaged me saying that she wanted to pay me for the free masterclass because it changed her life.
Mm-hmm.
She came in from that post.
That's funny.
Because she wanted to see how evil of a cult leader I was. But it's only because I kept playing with it. The imaginable trumps everything. It fucks it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the feminine trying to see. And the instant she's trying to see, it becomes boring.
Yep.
The unimaginable is the only thing that she wants. The only thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in it for the experience. Nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see where I've been making it logical, because it's like in the beginning I was playing with it. I was like, oh, this is so new. Like basically the first clients I'd ever had. And it really was a game. It was like, who can I get? How? All the things. But then I became so obsessed with like cleaning up the tone of what I was actually posting that it made it not fun again.
Yeah.
And now the tone is really clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go back to making it fun again.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that he's going to bring up is the same things that you had a while ago, some time ago. He's going to bring the same matter back up for fun. This is what
That's been the last 2 days.
Yeah. For me, it's been the money. It's been the, it's not the money necessarily, it's the frame and how I present the money piece in the frame and what the money piece actually is. Because at the beginning, I had so much matter around the money that I had to make it not matter by lowering my prices into, well, almost nothing, something that I could actually play with. Because that amount of money just didn't matter. And
you lowered them from what they were previously?
I lowered them from what they were in my previous business and what my expectations were and what my swampy feminine desired, which was a lot because I was trying to compensate for my lack of tone and my lack of energetic potency with the high rates, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to let go of the expectation and I had to start somewhere that actually didn't matter and that I could get my knowing behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I started raising it up almost immediately because every time someone bought it, it was boring, it was imaginable. So I raised it. And now he's bringing that matter back up. But from a very different price point. As in $2,000 for 1 hour price point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it, yes, for fun. It's a game for him to see the submission and also the struggle. But also because he knows that I can actually hold it now.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I actually had the thought the other day that a lower price than I charge turns me on.
Mm.
And I didn't know why, but I knew I needed to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that.
Yeah. he's going to take the exact thing that you don't think matters but actually does and tell you to do it.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
This gives me so much moving forward. It was perfect because the matter was in, oh, what am I going to look like to people if my price is lower than what I've said it is?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody does a session with me who's already done, my $1,000 session and it's like 500 or 800.
Yeah. Exactly.
It always hits the exact swamp that needs to be hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the submission, because when I was surrendering to it, I was like, oh, maybe I just don't think I'm worth $1,000. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's, I think people won't pay that. It's actually none of that ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not about the physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's never about the price or changing the price or lowering the price or raising the price or what people think about them raising the price. It's about the matter. It's about
Mm-hmm.
It's about the game between your high feminine and your high masculine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this gives me a lot for business, especially.
Mm. Yeah. Same thing with attachment that you didn't realize you had. I had a hit to message Gregory yesterday, just asking how he's been. We haven't talked in a month or so. And it led to, almost immediately, him asking if I could do monthly sessions with him, just to calibrate and keep the tone clean and, whatever. And so he asked me how much. This is where the 2,000 came up.
Mm-hmm.
It was $2,000. So I said it. Immediately he responded no. We left it at that. I haven't responded to him. And there was a moment where my swampy came up, being like, oh, but he's Gregory. It matters that he's Gregory. It matters that, you should maybe lower the price. Maybe it was too high. Maybe he doesn't think you're worth it. All the things.
Yep.
And it was not about him or his answer or any of it. It was about the attachment that I had towards whether or not he's in my space at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's never about the thing.
Yeah.
And it's about the thing. And it's about cleaning the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So anything else about business?
I don't know if I have an actual question. I don't know. I just want to know if you see anything I'm not seeing. Other than what, like the 3 things that have already come up. Those were key. I know those were key.
Yeah. They were.
And now I see how the prices weren't a turn on anymore. It was that same energetic of arrogance, keeping it that way, and entitlement, keeping it that way.
Yeah. And it's, for a long time, especially with, and from the conditioning that I had from Lorna, I thought that the turn-on shifting always meant, and the quality of the turn-on shifting always meant that I needed to raise my prices. So there was an attachment there.
Mm-hmm.
But the higher quality can absolutely come in the form of lowering your prices.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what it looks like. It's just an attachment to what you think it's going to look like. And that was a big thing for me. Same thing with the length of a frame. I had a hit. I haven't actually followed it yet. Today, to go back to my 2-hour frame, the master summoning session. The master summoning session.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for a moment, there was the stakes, and especially what people will think, and will it look like I'm, not potent enough to deliver in 1 hour or whatever. Because I always thought that raising the quality of the frame would mean making it shorter and shorter and shorter. And I was imagining how I would be charging like $2,000 for 30 minutes. Keyword imagining. And the turn on is actually going back to 2 hours to play with that. He's always going to do the exact opposite thing.
That's this whole week. That is the culmination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, why is everything flipped again?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It's being so present that you stay on your toes with anything.
Yeah, and that you actually see the nuances and the commands that come.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked me yesterday about the command and what it sounds like, because they didn't think that they could hear the command. But command can be misleading if you think of it as an actual voice that commands you, especially a voice that is not a high masculine man's voice.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a lot of force in his voice when he commanded me. And that's what most people associate with the command. It's a
Mm-hmm.
powerful, as in forceful, loud thing. But a command can be a whisper. It's about the tone. His whisper carries just as much power now as does his normal voice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're gonna miss the command if you're not present, if you're not actually listening. That's what the hit, the passing thought is. It is a clear command because of the tone, not because of how loud it is.
Exactly. That's what it was the other day in passing, where I was like, oh, it would be fun to make something. Just like one order.
Yeah.
Literally the next day, here you go. I didn't actually even have to do anything.
Yeah. That's how it works in no time.
Mm-hmm. Actually, 2 people that day. Another woman who, she wanted like a hoodie right when I had closed. And I said no back then. She actually messaged me that same day. like an hour after. The emails were right next to each other.
Okay. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
But then her I said no to. It's always spinning.
Mm-hmm. And also, you wanted one order.
Exactly.
So he gave you two to
Yep.
choose from. Right? That's what it is. And now you go with it. And you play with it.
It's the same way with the road trip because there's all these details to figure out, and it's the moment I'm like, yes, this. A minute later, it's like, oh no, this. And it's just, it's like the road trip is a perfect analogy for all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny how these all of these are literally the things that we've been reprimanded.
My whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Being too flighty, being inconsistent, too cold, too this, too selfish.
Changing your mind all the time.
Yep.
But it's from a different
And I can feel there's that residual program you just cut out.
Yeah, it's the same things. Again, the physical looks exactly the same. It's simply the energy, the tone that is different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the feminine is the same channel. The swampy feminine, the high feminine, they're the same channel. It's just that the other one is filled with matter and the other one's clean. So when it comes from the swampy feminine, the thing is still the same, but it's all over the place. And when it's from the high feminine, the thing is still the same, but it's sharp and precise.
Mm-hmm. That's the exact thing I needed to break this week. Is the expectations around what everything you just said needs to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
Okay, awesome.
Next week.
I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.